At 7:55 a.m. on December 7, 1941, 183 aircraft attacked from Japanese aircraft carriers, the US Navy's primary base in the Central Pacific. 75 minutes later, another 170 aircraft delivered a second strike against airfield shore installations and ships anchored at Pearl Harbor on Oahu Island. The US Navy lost 4 battleships and 2 destroyers. 349 aircrafts were destroyed or crippled. More than 3,600 military personnel and civilians died or were injured. The next day, on December 8, 1941, the United States declared war on Japan.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
President Roosevelt was right. On September 2, 1945, the Japanese instrument of surrender was signed aboard the Missouri. A memorial built on the site of the tragedy lists the names of all those who died on the frightful day, December 7, 1941. It's the early 20th century. Defeat in the First World War and the humiliating conditions of the Versailles Treaty have incited revanchist sentiments in Germany. Given that context, it is perhaps not surprising that Adolf Hitler's National Socialist German Workers' Party, commonly known as the Nazi Party, should rise to power in 1933. Appointed Chancellor Hitler declared a final solution, expanding Lebensraum, and the German army must prepare for action and the German economy must be ready for war. That call was soon followed by action. Germany left the League of Nations, refused to attend the disarmament conference, and introduced universal military conscription. The government of the Third Reich honors Austria's sovereignty. That was the assurance given on July 11, 1936. Less than 2 years later, Austria was occupied and annexed by Germany. The events of September 1938 can only be described as collusion. British Prime Minister Chamberlain, Francis Daladier, Adolf Hitler and Italian dictator Mussolini met in Munich to sign an agreement that would open the doors to the division of Czechoslovakia through the annexation of the Sudetenland. Six months later, Germany violated the Munich Agreement by occupying the whole of Czechoslovakia. The policy of appeasing the aggressor had yielded its first bitter fruit. An attempt to create an Anglo-French-Soviet coalition failed for the obvious reason. The British Prime Minister said openly that the best policy would be to allow Hitler and Stalin to rip each other's guts out. Stalin responded by agreeing to hold talks with Hitler. On August 23, 1939, the German Foreign Minister arrived in Moscow, and the same day signed a non-aggression agreement, known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. The agreement included a secret protocol setting out the division of spheres of mutual interest in Eastern Europe. The Munich Agreement is usually depicted as a prelude to war, but views about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact are much more ambiguous. Some say it was a Soviet diplomatic victory amid the military-political crisis. Others think it was a deal to divide the world. And still others say it explains why the Second World War began. War broke out a week after the Moscow banquet celebrating the Soviet-German talks' successful conclusion. On September 1, 1939, Hitler's troops invaded Poland, forcing Britain, France and several other countries to declare war on Germany. By fall 1940, Soviet-German relations had changed dramatically. Molotov, then Foreign Minister and Chairman of the Soviet Council of Ministers, went to Berlin in a bid to ease growing tensions and mutual mistrust. He was given a warm welcome, but the talks were not successful. By that time, Hitler had already developed Plan Barbarossa, give them only enough food to survive and be able to work. Do not destroy the collective farm system. It suits our purposes. It is vital for us Germans to weaken Russians to a degree where they would not be able to prevent Germany from dominating Europe. While bidding goodbye to Molotov, Hitler said he was sorry he was unable to make a personal acquaintance on such a historical giant as Stalin, especially since he, Hitler, could go down in history himself. Unfortunately, the Führer's wish was granted. He went down in history. June 22, 1941, Germany had conquered or occupied 11 leading European countries. It was ready to achieve its main goal, which Hitler outlined very clearly. When we speak of a new territory in Europe today, we must principally think of Russia. Instead of the 1939 Non-Aggression Pact, Hitler was now following Plan Barbarossa, which stipulated a lightning war and defeat of the Red Army's main units. Following artillery and aviation strikes, the German troops crossed the Soviet border at 4 in the morning on June 22, 1941. The bloodiest war in Russia's history began. It lasted 1,418 days and claimed over 20 million lives.
Сегодня в 4 часа утра, без всякого объявления войны, германские вооруженные силы атаковали границы Советского Союза. Началась Великая Отечественная война советского народа против немецко-фашистских захватчиков. Наше дело правое, враг будет разбит, победа будет за нами.
Жди меня, и я вернусь, только очень жди. Жди, когда наводит грусть, желтые дожди, жди, когда снега метут, жди, когда жара, жди, когда других не ждут, позабыв вчера, жди, когда из дальних мест писем не придет, жди, когда уж надоест всем, кто вместе ждет. Жди меня, и я вернусь. Не желай добра тем, кто знает наизусть. Позабыть пора. Пусть поверит сын и мать то, что нет меня. Пусть друзья устанут ждать, сядут у огня, выпьют горькое вино на помин души. Жди с ними заодно, выпить не спеши. Жди меня, и я вернусь. Всем смертям назову. Кто не ждал меня, тот пусть скажет повезло. Не понять не ждавшим им, как среди огня, ожиданием своим ты спасла меня.